another edition of Ask Terry. This is your friendly neighborhood community manager. I am out of the 67 and Polk Street, Oak Cliff Community Center branch, and I am coming to you today. Super excited. We've got a special edition. We're going to talk about all things auto, but before I get into that, how are you going to ask me questions if you don't know how to ask me questions? You know what? Go to askterry.tde@gmail.com, or you can connect with me with the Dallas Examiner at all of the social media spots below. We can connect. You can ask your questions because I am here for all of them. Let's get into this month's question.
Hey Terry, I heard Chase just recently had an event at your community center branch to announce a $1 million grant for on the road lending. Who is on the road lending?
Great question. And you heard correct. You said $1 million, and that's exactly what we did. We were able to provide a grant to On the Road Lending for $1 million. And you asked, who are they? Well, On the Road Lending is a community development financial institution that was started in Dallas in 2013. They are building a prosperity movement one car at a time. And they have an approach of doing character based lending, and they combine that with in depth financial coaching. And you know, I'm all about the financial coaching. So I'm here for it, and I absolutely love what they're doing in the community.
How does this fit in with your mission?
So, my mission as a community manager is to help close the racial wealth gap in underserved communities, and they are helping to do the same. As many know, transportation or lack of can be a barrier to many of us and for many of us, right? And credit is crucial to an individual's financial health. And it can be a barrier to economic opportunities. So if you don't have the good credit and your credit challenged, you may or can fall prey to predatory loans, to higher interest rates, and all those things can add to financial stress, which we don't want, right? 66% of Dallas residents have subprime credit. And that's something that can be concerning, and it can be stressful on a family, right? Because you want to get the best deal possible. Well, this grant that Chase has provided to On the Road Lending will help get more people behind the wheel of a vehicle so that they have the opportunity to earn better wages. That last mile that people talk about where the public transportation stops, that will no longer be a barrier. You can get to the job that's got your name on it where you're making all the income that you can to support you and your family. So super excited about this grant and all that it can do for our communities.
Okay, if I'm thinking about getting a new vehicle, how do I know if I should buy or lease one? And what is the difference?
Okay, so think about it like this, right? When you are leasing versus financing, leasing is like renting an apartment, financing is like buying a house, right? So that's how, when you think about the car, the lease or the finance, those are going to kind of be your point of references, right? So when you lease a car, you're going to borrow it for a certain amount of time. You're going to pay for it every month, and then you're going to give it back, right? Just like with an apartment, you don't stay there forever. You may change apartments because you find a better rate somewhere. You may change apartments because you like another location, or you may say, you know what, I'm ready to move into a house. And then you leave the apartment and move to a house. So that's one way of thinking of it. And then with a purchase or finance, you're going to take out a loan. It's an installment loan, so it's going to be the same payments again, same amount every month for a certain amount of time. And then once you meet that time frame, the car is yours. You own it. Just like with a house, you make your mortgage payments, and then after hopefully 15, 20, or 30 years, the house is then yours. Just like that, the car will eventually be yours when you do a finance.
So, what are the pros and cons of leasing a vehicle?
I'm going to run through the pros and cons for leasing. So let's get into it. When you lease a car, I'm going to give you 5 pros and cons. So the number one pro is leases can sometimes come with lower monthly payments and down payments, right? So that's a positive, right? It's less money out of your pocket. Your cash flow is better each month because you're not having to pay as much. Plus, many new leased vehicles often include the maintenance packages and the repair coverage, and that can either be from the manufacturer or from the dealer. Um, as long as you avoid the penalty fees, you can likely save some money when you have a lease. I'm going to talk about the penalties in a little bit. Another pro is leases could be beneficial if you stay local, right? If you know that you're not driving a lot, you're not going up and down the highways all the time, then that could be something that will minimize wear and tear on the car. You'll avoid penalties for excessive use, and that's a positive with a lease. Is if you stay local, you don't have to worry about the miles, because you'll be within your range that you're allowed to drive per your contract. Another pro, if you are a car enthusiast and you like to switch out your ride, your whip every now and again, in this case, typically 36 months is the average lease term. So if every 3 years you like getting a new car, well, the lease may be your friend because you can just turn it back to the dealership and then you go find the new best thing that it catches your eye, right? So that's a positive there. Now, one of the cons with the lease is you might have to pay additional fees. Gasp. Why, you say? Well, if you go over that mileage limit we talked about, right? If you don't stay local, you're going to face a penalty at the end of your lease. There are also early termination fees, as well as damages, fees for any damages that might be incurred. One last con on the lease is you'll always have a monthly payment, but unlike financing, you won't end up with the vehicle when the term ends, right? So you're making these payments and then you finish and you don't really have anything to show for it. But you'll make the payments through the end of your lease term. And if you decide to get another one, you'll just start new monthly payment cycles. So that can be a con.
What are the pros and cons to buying a vehicle?
Me, I'm going to go into now for buying a car. That's more my speed, right? Auntie likes the purchasing, the financing. I like to own the vehicle. But one of the pros is the car is yours and you get to keep it once you pay it off. You don't have to worry about getting another vehicle because I'm a ride till the wheels fall off. I don't care what it is. Does it get me to A to B? I'm rolling in it because it's mine and it's paid off. So that's something to think about. Another pro is you don't have to worry about that mileage that we talked about with the lease. You don't have to worry about staying local. If you want to take a road trip with the girls or the family or whomever, you don't have to say, "Oh, I don't want to go over my mileage if I take a trip to Houston or if I go to Fredericksburg or if I go to Rio Dosa, whatever." You don't have to worry about that because it's your car. Now, another pro with a car is your car payments end. There's light at the end of that tunnel, right? You only make your car payments for a certain amount of time, whether that's 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever you decide on with your lease, or excuse me, with your contract for the purchase. That's going to help you with your budget because we've talked about budgeting in the past. So once you no longer have that car payment, you can apply it to paying down debt and or putting it into your savings account. But that's another conversation. We're going to have that again later, I'm sure. A con, financing may be more expensive, right? We talked about that down payment. So you may have a higher monthly payment. You may have to put more down when you're purchasing the car. Car prices today are relatively high. And, you may have to make that down payment before you even start your monthly payments. So that's something to consider. And then another con is you'll have to pay for your maintenance, your inspections, and other costs that may have been covered in a lease agreement, right? Because just like with that house, it's yours. So you own it. If the oil needs to be changed, you need to change it. If the tires need to be rotated, guess who gonna rotate them? You gonna rotate them. Well, you're gonna take them somewhere to get rotated if you're me, because I'm not technically rotating, but I'm
Okay. Now that I understand leasing versus buying, how do I know which is best for me?
Now, how do you decide between buying or leasing a car? That's a great question. And I'm putting the bow on it and we wrapping up, getting ready to go home, y'all. But some people might choose to lease because they don't drive a lot. We talked about those mileages, or because they like having the option of a new car every few years. Like I said, I have family members who every 3 years they in a new whip. Others might like the permanency of financing a car to purchase, like me, because I like to own it, have it, and be done with it, and enjoy not having car payments every month, at least for 5 years. Please give me 5. So I'm gonna ride it. I'm gonna drive it for 10. So for you guys, right, whether you're buying or leasing, it's always a good idea. And I'm going to say, scratch the idea. It's always necessary to do your research. It's not a good idea. You need to research, period. You want to set your budget and you want to improve your credit score if necessary to ensure you're getting a car that you can afford. But we talked about on the road lending, so I'm going to plug them in right there too. That's another resource for you. But you want to access both your short term and long term financial goals, and be sure to understand the terms of your lease or your loan so that you are not surprised and you don't have unexpected expenses or cost, right? You want to know everything that you are getting with your lease and or your loan. And then the choice is going to be yours. Happy driving. You get to pick what you want. And for more information and tips and tools, you can visit chase.com/auto, and you can check out that link below. So now we've wrapped it up. I've answered all of the questions. Super excited. We had some wonderful barbecue. It was a community event, all things community. We got to talk about the grant for on the road lending. We talked about buying a car versus leasing a car. And so now I'm ready for next month's question. How are you going to get that to me? You know what this is. You're going to ask Terri, because you can't grow if you don't know. And you won't know if you don't ask Terri. So connect with me on the links below with the Dallas Examiner. Send me an email at askterri.tde@gmail.com, or swing by 67 in Polk. Come see your girl in person. I'm usually there, but you can also find me in South Dallas as well. So I'm excited. So glad that you guys have been asking these wonderful questions. Keep them coming so we can continue to grow with all things financial. I'm here for it. Ask Terri. Bye, guys.